I am One Ladies Man. My channel is One Ladies Man Cooking for Beginners. Here I am in my neighborhood called Takoma Park. It's right near Washington, D.C. Matter of fact, if you step on the other side of the street, you're in Washington, D.C. You step on the other side of the street, you're in Maryland, which is where Takoma Park is. Takoma Park is a funny city because it exists in Maryland and it also exists in Washington, D.C. Who are the people in your neighborhood? In your neighborhood? In your neighborhood? Who are the people in your neighborhood? In your neighborhood? In your neighborhood? Hood. The cars are waiting for the light to change. They're gonna get on camera whether they like it or not. Once you leave the house, you should realize that there's cameras everywhere. Better recognize. That's right, better recognize and get you on camera. Get me on camera? I don't think so. I'm One Ladies Man. The channel isn't about getting me on camera. The channel is about cooking. I want all you ladies to make sure you have a pot set. I prefer stainless steel. But I mean, if you want to, you can get aluminum. I don't recommend it. But if you're stubborn and hard-headed and you want to get aluminum, go ahead and get aluminum. I done told you that it can contribute to Alzheimer's because aluminum gets in the body and causes Alzheimer's. But if you want to still get aluminum, well, get aluminum. My recommendation is stainless steel. Am I sound like I'm upset? I'm not upset. No more. Or you can get a non-stick set. But remember, with a non-stick set, you're gonna have to get special utensils. What are utensils? Utensils are the things that you need to put inside your pot, whether it's a spoon, a knife, that flat thing that flips the hamburgers, you call that a spatula. A spatula. But me, since I'm very Machiavellian, I used to call it spatula. Spatula. Okay, I'm tripping. I am One Ladies Man. My name is Andrew, but you can call me Drew. Name of the channel, One Ladies Man Cooking for Beginners. Now this channel is only for women who can't cook. You can't cook. If you can cook, this channel isn't for you. If you can cook, this channel is not for you. I'm gonna say it one more time. If you can cook, this channel is not for you. But if you're a woman and you can't cook, you can't boil water, you gotta always order out. You gotta always go out to eat. You gotta always have TV dinners. You gotta always go over somebody's house to get some real home cooking. Well, I'm here to help you out. My name is Andrew. I used to be a chef's assistant. Now that's called a sous chef. So I used to be a sous chef, but I'm not gonna claim all of that. I spent 16 years United States Air Force. I had 3 jobs. My first job, welder, iron worker. Don't sell me short, I can weld up some stuff. Iron worker. My second job, airplane mechanic. Air Force said, hey, what type of plane do you want to work on? I said, the biggest damn one you got. They said, oh, you want the C-5 Galaxy. I became a C-5 Galaxy mechanic. After a while, I became good enough to become a C-5 Galaxy flight mechanic. That's the mechanic that flies with the plane all over the world. After that, I applied for another job. I wanted to be a flight engineer. A flight engineer is a person, and what she does is she's up on the flight deck of the airplane, and she's working very closely with the pilot and co-pilot, making sure they do everything right and helping them out, making decisions, real-time decisions. A flight engineer is the person who is sitting next to the pilot, right in between the pilot and the co-pilot, and she goes, ma'am, Number 2 engine is on fire. Recommend we shut it down and find a place to land immediately. Wait, ma'am. Let me double check that it is indeed number 2 engine. And she looks out the window of the flight deck, because it's a 4-engine jet, 4-engine cargo jet, and she comes back and she says, ma'am, correction. It is number 3 engine that's on fire. The other engine is no longer on fire. Recommend we find a place to land immediately. And I'm standing by with the engine shutdown checklist, at which time the pilot who's flying will say, copy that, engineer, let's run the engine shutdown checklist. We'll run the checklist, we'll accomplish everything, and the engineer will say, checklist complete. The pilot who's flying the plane will say, Roger, engineer, very good job. Now, what's next on the list? Let's try and see if we can find a place to land here. The pilot who's not flying is in charge of radios, communicating with the air traffic control, watching all the instruments, watching the speedometer, keeping an eye on the pilot that's flying, and if she's very skilled, drinking her coffee. The Air Force runs on coffee like you would never know. Everybody is zooked up. You didn't hear it from me. Okay, enough about flying. You think that all I do is cook? If you think that all I do is cook, you're gonna be surprised. We're gonna talk about electrics, we're gonna talk about plumbing, we're gonna talk about carpentry. I used to own a handyman business. We're gonna talk about buying cars. I used to sell new cars, new Volkswagens, Mazdas, and Subarus. We're gonna talk about being a private chauffeur. I'll tell you about the time I went to the White House and the Secret Service let me come back. They didn't even check my ID. They said, oh, there's the guy that didn't know where to park. Come on, guy who don't know where to park. Oh, this is okay. Come on in through the gate. We remember you. No need for you to show ID. Come right in, guy who didn't know how to park. Didn't know where to park. I can tell you about my experiences with the radio station. I can tell you about my experience with politics. I can tell you about my experiences being a clothing salesman. Oh, I've got a lot of careers under me. I guess about 70. I can tell you about my experience about being a taxi driver. So I used to work at midnight or so because I figure all the other taxi drivers were afraid to work, so I would have the lion's share of all the customers available. So one night, this crazy man jumped in my cab. I'm a Gulf War veteran. He didn't know that. He jumped in my cab and started behaving crazy. I turned around and looked at him. I locked my door and I floored it. Started going through the intersections, through the red light, zipping and turning, dodging and weaving, you know, side to side and all that stuff, and stopping and starting. And the guy said, hey, stop. Let me out. Stop. Let me out. I turned around and looked at him and said, not until you pay me. He took out, I think it was $10 or whatever, and threw it at me and said, let me out. I pulled over and unlocked the door, and he jetted out, and before he jetted, I said, thank you for your business. Please come back again. Talk about crazy. I'll show you crazy. You never know who you run into. But these days, I am one lady's man. I'm going to teach you how to cook. We can do this. We can do this. We're going to start from boiling water. God help us, we're going to go to some casseroles and things of that nature. You're just gonna be so impressed with yourself. I film from various places. I'm up in Baltimore often, and my favorite spot to film up in Baltimore is at the BWI Mark Rail Station. It's an Amtrak station, and it's also a Mark Rail Station. Now, being an Amtrak station, you know what that means. Yeah, the Acela, the high-speed train. So every now and then, the Acela passes through, and I get it on camera. And that's very impressive. That thing is booking at about 100 through that part of the station. I was talking to a Acela steward, lady who works in the cabin, and she tells me that the Acela speeds up to about 165. I'm like, get out of here. She says, no, really it does. So there you have it. I'm gonna shut up now. Thanks for listening. Thanks for stopping by. I am one ladies man. My name is Andrew, but you can call me Drew. The name of the channel, One Ladies Man Cooking for Beginners. Yeah, we're gonna get you cooking and sauteing, and we're not gonna do hardly any frying. Mostly the meats are gonna be baked. And my purpose, my goal, my intent is to get you comfortable in the kitchen. Once you get comfortable in the kitchen, well, you're quite welcome to leave the channel and venture off and find some other channels that you want to watch. Matter of fact, I will give you some recommendations. Okay, enough said. And if I sound military at times, because I was a staff sergeant in the United States Air Force. I should have been a tech sergeant. I should have been even master sergeant, but I shot off at the mouth too much. You can't talk back to people. Well, anyway, long story. I'm not gonna say any more, but I have been in positions of authority and influence and with many people under me. So anyway, I am One Ladies Man. The name of the channel is One Ladies Man Cooking for Beginners. Tell your friends, tell your homies, tell your peeps, tell everybody so that the viewing and the rating can go up. And so that one of us can get rich. I'm not gonna say which one, you or me, but anyway, I'm done. I'm finished. I'm gone for now. I'll say it in Russian, which is also Ukraine, from what I was told. До свидания. See you later. До свидания. До свидания. До свидания. До свидания. Okay, bye.